If you're listening to this video, you probably already know something about shungite that piques your interest. It's a relatively new stone to the Western world, largely made of carbon and silicate minerals, and found only in Russia. But what makes shungite unique are molecular arrangements of carbon atoms within the rock, called fullerenes. Fullerenes are cages or tubes of carbon atoms arranged in repeating patterns, reminiscent of a soccer ball. They're known as a third form of crystalline carbon, along with diamonds and graphite. It's those fullerenes that give shungite its unique properties. Now, for water, shungite provides at least 4 potential benefits. First of all, it removes contaminants. It's made of carbon, like most water filters. And carbon grabs contaminants. But the presence of fullerenes in shungite allows it to grab additional contaminants, which are then drawn into the molecular cages, those fullerenes. But if shungite is used to filter water, it has to eventually be thrown away. And Melanie and I recommend that shungite be used to enhance already clean water so that its other benefits can be maximized. So number 2, shungite supports or enhances water's molecular structure. Shungite resonates because it's made of carbon in the infrared frequency band with all forms of carbon-based life. And that infrared spectrum supports water's ability to form an organized, hydrogen-bonded network. The fullerenes help water's structure in another way too, because they use something called epitaxy, which is the ability to mimic molecular patterns, which water can do. Epitaxy is the reason that putting a crystal in water helps to structure it and keep it structured. This is not just a wives' tale. The water replicates the repeating molecular geometry in the crystal. And since fullerenes are a form of crystalline carbon, their 3-dimensional pattern can be mimicked by water to form a fullerene-like molecular structure in the water. Evidence indicates that the resulting water may actually function similar to the way these fullerenes function in nature, grabbing contaminants and gently cleansing the human body. 3, shungite provides energetic protection for water. Studies from Russia, validated in Europe and now in other parts of the world, are showing that shungite neutralizes many forms of negative energy, including unnatural electromagnetic fields. It helps protect water and the human body from EMFs. And this is why people wear shungite necklaces and other jewelry. And it's why we use shungite in our orgonite mix for the charging plate we make and for the base of the water cradle. And it's also why we cap the water cradle with a shungite sphere, because that adds another level of energetic protection for the water inside. Lastly, shungite carries codes for balance and harmony. Many of you are aware that every stone has a unique energetic property or properties that can be transferred to water. We talk about this in the book in the chapter on adding information to water. Melanie and I have written that shungite carries codes for balance and harmony. This stone helps balance the environment, including water, and it can help balance the human body. Special shungite chambers have been constructed and have successfully assisted patients with things like depression, trauma, and other kinds of emotional disturbances. This is a very balancing stone, and when you drink water made with shungite, it balances and cleanses the body. It has been reported in the literature for use with a long list of maladies. Now, there are 2 forms or grades of shungite. The lower grade, called black shungite, contains anywhere from 40 to upwards of 80% carbon. It's got a very dull appearance, very much like coal. And the higher grade represents only 1% of the shungite that is mined, and it comes from very small veins that run through the rock formation. This higher grade is referred to as silver shungite, or also as elite or noble shungite. And it's got a very silvery, shiny appearance and a carbon content of between 80 and 98% carbon. Also, it has a much higher fullerene content. Now, both grades of shungite work to enhance water, but the silver form, or the elite form, works much faster. If you use black shungite to treat water, you're going to need about a cup of stones to treat every half gallon of water. And you need to let it sit for 3 days for its influence to fully permeate the water. But when the elite form is used, you only need a small handful, about 30 grams, in the same half gallon of water. And it can be ready to drink in between 3 and 8 hours. So if you take care of elite shungite, you should never need to replace it. One drawback to using elite shungite is that it's brittle. It fractures easily, and it can leave tiny pieces in the water. And this is one reason that we recommend leaving the elite shungite in the little organza pouch that comes with it from us. This makes it easier to move from one container to another, and the small pieces that might break off don't end up necessarily in the water. Another possible drawback to using elite shungite is that when it fractures, it often exposes a layer of oxidized iron, rust. This can be removed with a wire brush, but if those rust deposits aren't removed, they can leave rust in the water. We've had people tell us that they bought elite shungite on Amazon and that their water turned orange. Well, that's because those deposits weren't removed. We want you to know that we inspect each piece, and then we ozonate the elite shungite that we sell from Dancing with Water. Since elite shungite is too brittle to shape and polish, it's the black form that's used to make spheres and other shapes. And all that beautiful jewelry and the other shapes that are marketed are black shungite, which does look very silvery and shiny when it's polished. We carry spheres, Melanie and I, in our purse and in our pocket, and both of us wear either a pendant or a necklace most of the time, especially when we're at the computer. In spherical form, stones tend to radiate their energy really rapidly and evenly, especially in water. 15 to 20 minutes with a small shungite sphere in a glass of water makes a glass of water that's very balancing and stress relieving. Spherical forms of shungite tend to cleanse and harmonize the energetic body better than irregularly shaped stones. We only sell unpolished shungite spheres from our website because, remember, fullerenes hold on to contaminants, and they're going to hold on to polishing compounds too, which you don't want to have end up in your water. So we only sell unpolished shungite spheres from our website. Now, before we quit, I want to mention something called C60, which is short for carbon 60. And it refers to the most widely known fullerene with 60 carbon atoms. This is the fullerene that's perfectly spherical that's found in the elite shungite. If you look up C60, you're going to find some pretty amazing information on the internet about what this molecule is being researched for and is being used for. We encourage you to do that. It's fascinating reading. But in nature, the C60 molecule is quite rare. It wasn't even discovered until 1985, and then by 1990, the scientific community began to artificially produce it. There are lots of emerging C60 products for consumption, but here's the thing. Nature is very careful when she creates anything. Environmental conditions and many other factors can influence the outcome. Laboratories rarely compete with nature's brilliance, and things don't always turn out exactly the same working in a laboratory. Regina Martino made this interesting observation recorded in her book on shungite, and she says, "I subjected a small quantity of artificial fullerenes to bioenergetic tests with several individuals. The results indicate a loss of 55% of the person's energy field. Whereas, I remember that the same tests using the natural fullerenes contained in shungite showed an increase of 100% in the person's vital field." Now, based on these findings and on our personal experience, it's our opinion that drinking water infused with shungite is the safest way to receive the natural benefits of C60. The effects may not be so strong, and maybe that's a good thing. Leave the shungite in the water till you drink it, and enjoy the balancing and gently cleansing effects of shungite water.